going to be teaching you how to create an isometric room in Blender. I've created a bunch of isometric rooms now in Blender. So I'm going to show you a bunch of tips and tricks on how to accomplish this. In this class, we'll be using Blender 3.4, which is a free software that you can easily download. You're welcome to follow along with what I'm doing or use the techniques to make your own masterpiece. Let's jump straight into Blender. Alright, so here we are in Blender, and the first thing we're going to do to just make everything a lot easier is we're going to turn on two add-ons. And so we just go to Edit, and then Preferences, we just go to Add-ons. We want Loop Tools. This is going to enable us to do the round windows, and we also want Image as Planes. We're going to do this if you want to add in photos or anything like that to the room. So they're the two add-ons that I would recommend for this class. So you can just tick them here, and then you can also go down here and you can save the preferences. So what we're going to do to get started is we're going to tab into Edit mode, and we're going to face select these three faces. Oh, and we're going to select the faces on them as well. What we're going to do as well is we will select the bottom one and delete that face. So this will be the isometric part of the room. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select it all by pressing A, right click, and we're going to subdivide it. We're probably going to do it about 7 times. I think that's enough. Now the reason we're doing this is we are about to make the window. This is my biggest tip. Either I learned how to do this by myself, and if you're trying to do round windows, this is how to do it. Well, this is how I do it. You don't have to do it this way, but this is the way I would recommend. So select where you want it, press I to insert. I'm just going to insert it about this much. We want to right click, and then we want to go to Loop Tools. We turned that on earlier, and then we want to go Circle. And now you can see there is a circle. If yours is like rotated like this or anything, you can just rotate it and move it back. I'm going to scale mine down just a little bit, and I'm also just going to bring it up along the Z axis just so it's a little bit higher. Now what I do is I actually delete all those faces. So we have it actual just a circle in there. What you can do now is you can go into the modifiers tab, and you can add in the solidify modifier, and we're going to give this just a little bit of depth, so probably maybe 0.17, and we're going to click even thicknesses. As you can see, if you go at the top, it's not even, so if we just click that, we're even. It looks great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create the window frame. So go to Edge Select just up here, and then you can Option Select, or it might even be Alt Select this edge just here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to Shift D to duplicate and P to separate the selection. We're going to go to Object Mode, and then we're going to select that little circle that we just separated. We're then going to go to Edit Mode, press A to select all, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude it and then scale like this. As you can see, I forgot the solidify modifier is still on, so we'll just turn that off just there. We'll go back and select this ring, extrude it back just like that. And what we can do as well, we can just move it. You can play around with this however you like. What I'm going to do is extrude it back like that, and if you want the back to be done as well, you can do that. So that is the window. As you can see, it's a little bit bumpy, and I might even just scale it in and just change the origin to the origin of the geometry. I'm going to add a subdivision surface just like that. As you can see, we're clipping a little bit, so we can just scale it in. But that is how I do the windows, and then I just shade it smooth. Super easy and super effective. One thing you might want to do is you might want to make this a little bit thicker, maybe about that thick, and we might want to just scale that along the X, move that back, and now what we can do is we can actually turn this into a window seat, so now that it is a little bit deeper. So I'm going to leave it like that. You can do whatever you want with it as well. What we're going to add in now is the floor, and the floor is going to be a cube. We're going to go G, scale, and scale it along the Z, then we're going to move it down just like that. Press Ctrl 1 on your keyboard, and you can actually see if it is in line, just like that. Now I love wood planks, so I'm going to show you how to do wood planks using the array modifier. And this is a tip that I have developed over time. I used to do it a very different way, but this is the easiest way to do wood planks, wood flooring, and anything like that. So just add in your cube, scale it down. We want to scale it along the Z as well, and then we want to scale it along the X. We're just going to move them down, and then I'm just going to move it back to the wall, and we're just going to move it along just like that. So that is the first plank we have there, and what we're going to do is use the array modifier. Now the reason that I do this is that it duplicates them as many times as you want while using the same geometry. So instead of having to manually duplicate everything, this is just a really great way to just get it all done. It'll also be a lot easier on your machine because you're duplicating from the same geometry, so it has the same properties as the original parent of it. So it's actually going the wrong way, so we want -1, and we'll probably should do -1.05 so that there's little gap. That's still a little much, so maybe 1.005. And just like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it along the X and just bring it along like that. Wood panels aren't aligned, they're not symmetrical or anything like that. So we want to shift D, this one, and then we want to move it along the Y. And what we'll do is we'll also move it back, just like that. We're going to add in 2 more, and then what we'll do is we'll apply this array modifier. That means we can tab into edit mode, and I would go into X-ray mode by just clicking this button up here, and you can just bring these in so that they align up, and then just bring this one back along the X, just like that. You can turn off X-ray mode now. Now what we're going to do is you can double up your arrays, and we can do another array. So we want to actually do it on the Y. We want to do it -1 at least, and you can just pull and drag where you want it. And so we probably want it -2. I would say we go -2.04, just like that. And we want a few of them, so we're just going to increase the count just until it's at the wall. We're going to do the same thing with this plank as well. So we're going to be moving it on the Y again, and I think it's -2.04, and we're just going to be going like that. And now you have the plank floor done, and it looks so good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add the bed. So we're going to add in a cube, and then we're just going to scale it down. We're going to scale it down along the Z as well. And then we might also scale it out along the Y. Just play around with this depending how big you want the bed. And I'm just going to bring it down a little bit. Awesome. Let's now make the bed frame for it. So we tab into edit mode. What we're going to do is just subdivide this. We'll go 7 times. I think that's great. And then what we will do is if you press slash on your keyboard, we will just go into a mode where we can just see the bed, which makes it really easy to work with. So I'm just going to select these faces along here for the legs, and I'm just going to extrude them down. Just like this. You can go out and see if you've made them long enough as well, but that is what I'm wanting the legs to look like. I might even add in a bevel modifier, maybe just like that. So we have the little legs there and the rest of it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select all of these faces. We're going to shift D to duplicate and then P to separate the selection. We're going to go out and then we're going to tab back into edit mode of the selection we just made. I'm going to make it a little smaller because this will be the mattress. Now what I'm going to do is extrude it up. So I think that's perfect. What we're going to do is we're actually going to duplicate the top face again and separate by selection. So now we have the blanket. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it a little bit wider, but then just a little bit shorter. Now this is a technique that I love to use, especially with anything that is cloth or anything like that, is that we're going to select where the cloth will be. So just on the mattress here, what we're going to do is add a subdivision surface to it, and then we're just going to shade it smooth. We're going to go over physics properties. We're going to add a collision modifier to it. Then we're going to go to the sheet or the duvet cover. We're going to add a subdivision surface just to round out those corners a little bit, and then we're going to go to physics properties and we're going to add cloth. Then what we're going to do is we're going to press spacebar, and you can see down the timeline down here, when we click spacebar, it's going to go like this, and then we have the blanket going like that. Now one thing I didn't do, so we will just undo it, is we just want to shade it smooth so that when it drops, it's a lot smoother to deal with. We're just going to add the solidify modifier to the duvet, and we can just increase the thickness like that. And what we might do is just put these guys for the cloth simulation. And then we can put it out like that, and now it looks more like a blanket. It's a lot softer. It gives it a very different look. So I quite like what we've got here. What I'm going to do while we're still looking at the bed is add the subdivision modifier to the base of the bed as well, and then shade that smooth, and I might even increase that. So that is what we have there. It's looking very good. Now what we're going to do is go in and make pillows. So we're going to go in with a cube again. I'm going to press slash, and we're just going to make them a little bit thinner and then a little bit longer, just like this. Now there's a few ways that we can do this. We could just add the subdivision modifier like that. We could have really cute round pillows. We could tab in, we could add a loop cut here, a loop cut here, and then we can scale in them like this. Whatever way you want to do it, if you want to do it the way that I just did it, that's great. And then I just shade that smooth, and it just gives it a little bit more dimension to the pillow. Go out of slash mode, go down, and then we're going to go back. And I'm just going to make them just a little bit bigger. We're also just wanting to apply the cloth modifier, just so if we want to move it, we can move it easy. So we just have this pillow. Once again, I'm going to use the array modifier to put the other pillow on the other side of the bed, just like that. So you can add as many pillows as you want. If you wanted to duplicate this, Shift D, press, and then just make them like this. So we can put 2 little pillows on the bed, or we could even make them smaller, just like that, and make them like that. So just adding a few more pillows there, and then you can just rotate them however you need them, and then bring them down at the bed. Very cute. Now we're going to work on doing the bedside table. So once again, we're going to add a cube, and we're going to scale it down. I want to move it along the Y. We're going to just bring it down to be a side table. Just here. I'm just using slash to go into it so that we can see what we are doing, and then we're going to tab into edit mode. What I'm wanting to do is just subdivide this just a couple of times. That is what I'm after. Then we're going to go down to the feet. Very similar technique for what we did with the bed, and we're just going to select them, and you can go out of slash mode if you want to see what you're doing so that we can extrude those feet down. Just like that. And then I'm just going to place them. I'm making a slash just so we can see what we're up to. So we're going to insert the top one, press I, and then you can insert the bottom one as well, just like that. We're going to take these faces, and then we're just going to extrude back just a little bit, just to add a little bit of depth. Then I extrude and scale in, and then I'm just going to extrude out just a little bit more. What you can do if you want to is you can extrude this drawer out the whole way, and then you can pull down these faces like this, and you can have an open drawer. But I think I'm going to make the drawers closed, but you can do whatever you want. Next, we're going to do the little handles. So what you can do is you can select these vertices, press I, just like that, and then we're going to extrude it along the Y like that. What we're going to do is add in the subdivision modifier, and as you can see, it's quite rounded, maybe a little bit more rounded than we want. So we might add in a few loop cuts to the legs, maybe 2, and then we might add in a loop cut here to support the base of it, a couple loop cuts up there. And yeah, I'm loving how it's looking, and then shade it smooth. And he's looking great. I love the texture of him. I just love him. Perfect. We're going to put slash, and I think he's a little small, so I'm just going to scale him up, move him up a little bit. Bedside tables are usually about in line with the bed, so having him like that is perfect. Next, we're going to make a little lamp for the bed, so you can move your cursor just to the top of the bedside table. We're going to go Shift A, and we're going to add in a cylinder. We only need 16 vertices for that, so you can change that down there. And then we're going to scale it down, and we're also going to scale it down across the Z. Press slash so we can see what we're doing, and then we're going to get these vertices, and we're going to extrude it up. Then we're going to maybe extrude it up one more time, extrude, and then scale out like a plate. And then what you can do is press G and then pull it down, and you can just play around with how you want this to look. I usually add a subdivision modifier to it. You can see it looks a little crazy right now. Then it's just looking a little bit more mushroom-like, and I do love a mushroom lamp. What we can also do is we can add in a little light. So we can probably just do a UV sphere. We don't need it to have that much geometry, and we can select it, press L, and we can just scale it all the way down and then bring it in the top just like that. Perfect. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add the texture to this now while we're already here. So I'm just going to go new in textures, just say light, and then turn the emission all the way down nearly. You can also just change the color just a little bit, and I'm just going to turn the emission up. Then I'm going to select this one, press L, and we might make this one maybe like a nice green. Go assign, just change the mode up the top there. Press assign so you can actually see what you're doing. I might make it just a little bit metallic and pull down the roughness just a little bit. We are going to shade it smooth, just like that. And that is the little light that we have. Go out of slash mode, and you can have a little look at how that is going. You can also bring that up there. Now we're going to add in a cushion to the window. So what I would suggest you do is you go in and you just select the faces where you want the cushion to be. So I don't want that one. Then go Shift D, P for this to separate the selection. Now we're going to go into edit mode for that one, and we're going to go Option E or Alt E to scale the faces along normals, just like this. And then we're going to go A, and then we're just going to scale it a little bit, and I'm just going to scale it in as well. And that is how to make that really soft looking cushion. And what we can do is we can add in the pillows to that as well if we want to, or we can make it thinner or bigger or whatever we want to do with that. But that's just what I'm going to do with the cushion. Next thing I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to add a little bit of decoration to the wall. So I want to add in maybe some bricks. So we'll go scale this one down, and then we'll scale it along. Press 7 for top view, and then we can bring it back into the wall. And then we can add the array modifier to it. So we want negative 1.005, just to like leave a little bit of a gap. And then we will scale it along X. Just like that. And we will do the very similar technique for what we did for the floors. So we'll go Shift D to duplicate, and then we will bring it down just here, pull it along the wall, just like that. We'll actually go back and do it. Then we will apply this one, tab into edit mode, go into X-ray mode, and then pull them back so that they're even. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add in another array modifier to the top one, and we want it to be on the Z. So we're going to go like that. And then we are just going to add them all the way down the wall. We don't need that many. And then we're also going to do it with this one as well. So we're just going to add the array modifier, do it along the Z, and then just add them all the way down the wall. Just like that. We can't really see it just yet, but it'll be easier to see once we texturize everything. I'm also probably wanting to add in something along the top of it. So we can add in another loop cut just there. And then what we can do is we can select the top and we can press Alt E or Option E and extrude faces along the walls. Now it's looking a little crazy. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to duplicate it and separate it. Go back to object mode. What we're going to do is we're going to add in the solidify modifier, and we're going to just do the thickness and then go even thickness just like that. And I might even just make it a little bit smaller, just like that, just to shape the room. And what I might even do is just Alt D or Shift D and just duplicate it and put it for the bottom as well. And then what we can do is we can just move up all of these bricks just like that. What I'm also going to do is just add in a beam down here just to divide up the wall just a little bit. So just scale down this beam. Press 7 so I can see what I'm up to, and then scale it up just like that. You see how it's shaping the room? What we can do is just apply the array modifier. It's like this, and as you can see it's duplicated another one. What we'll do is we'll just apply them, tab into edit mode, select this one, press L to select all of it, X, and we want to delete the whole thing. And now we just have the 3 just like that. Now we're going to add in a couple of photo frames for up here on the wall. So we're just going to go Shift A, and we're going to use a cube, and we're just going to scale it down for how we want it, just like that. I'm going to tab in, face select, just the front one, inset it, and then extrude it back along the y-axis like that, just so that it actually looks like a photo frame. And then I'm also going to add in the bevel modifier just to round it out just a little bit, and then I'm going to shade it smooth like that. Now the way to add in an image is to go Shift A, then we go to image, and then we go image as plane, and then just choose whatever image you want. So I really want this image. If you just change what view you're in, I'm just going to rotate it 90 degrees. It's actually backwards, so I'm going to rotate it 180. Just going to scale it, and I'm going to move it. Now I've made the photo frame not a square, so now what I want to do is just make this more of a square. I can bring this back just like that. So now you can see it's framed, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a bunch of photo frames around, and I will see you after I do that. Alright, so this is what we're looking like with those pictures on the wall. You can just see them there, and you can do this however you like. Add in your own images. It's so much fun to do, and it just elevates the room so much. So that's what we're looking like. Now we're going to move on to making flower cushions, and I love making flower cushions, so it's very exciting for me. So what we're going to do is go Shift S, and we're just going to move the cursor back to the world origin, just so he pops back in there. We're going to add in a round cube, and we're going to turn the radius up to 1, and then we're going to scale it down. We're going to go into slash mode just so that we can see what is going on there. And I'm going to add in a subdivision modifier to this and then shade it smooth. Next, what we want to do is add in the petals. So we're going to duplicate this center, and we're going to pull it down, and then we're also going to scale it along the Y. And you can do this however you want. Go Control A and do all transformations and rotation and scale. If you don't do this, the next part won't work, so it's very important. Next, we're going to add in a curve, and we want the circle, and we're going to make that a lot smaller. Now we just want to apply the rotation and scale to that as well. We're going to select the petal, and we're going to add the array modifier. What I really like about this technique is that you can actually array the petals around the center. So it's really important to do this if you're making flowers or anything. It saves so much time, and it's honestly my favorite technique to do. So I'm very excited to be showing you. So we want to array before we subdivide, and we are going to go, we're going to select the curve as the object, then we're going to go into object properties, we're going to go 360 divided by 5. And as you can see, all of the little petals have populated. Now if we go into the one that we made, we can actually select the center of it. Say we want just these vertices just here, and then we're just going to pull them down just like that. You can't really see that well, but now you can see there's just a little bit more texture to it. We're going to apply the array modifier. If you don't do this, when you move it, it's gonna just not move with itself. Then we're going to move that up, and then we're gonna delete that. What I think we do is we're going to select both of them and go Control J to join them. And now we have a flower cushion. You can also just scale it up a little bit more if you want it to be a little bit more plumptuous. I'm gonna go out of slash mode, and I'm just gonna plop them around. What you can do is go back in. You can go into edit mode, select all by pressing A. You can press 1, and then you can move it up along so the origin point is just at the bottom. You can just see it there. Then when we go back in, I can show you this technique, which I really like to use, where we're going to snap the cushion around. It just makes it easier to move it around. So I go face nearest, align rotation to target, and snap to same target. Press G, and as you can see, it snaps to it. Once it's there, you can just rotate it however you want. And have the little flowers like that. So you can do it however you like, but that's how we're going to do it. We're going to put the 3D cursor just down here, and we're going to go Shift A, and we're going to add in a cylinder. Then we're going to scale it down, and then scale it down here as well. I'm just going to bring it up. And I'm going to go into slash mode just because I find it so easy to do. We're going to extrude. We're going to press I, just like that. We're going to extrude it down maybe a little bit. Extrude it in. Extrude it up, just like that. Scale it out. So we're just making a little pot plant. So I'm just extruding in again. Extruding down, scaling, and then I'm just going to fill it. Just like that. So we're going to add the subdivision modifier to it. And then we're just going to see where it needs a little bit more geometry. So I'm going to add a little bit more geometry down the bottom. And I also might add a little bit more geometry just in there. And just in there. And then shade it smooth. So we'll see what that's looking like. That is very cute. It is a little big. So we might just make it a little smaller, but then like a little bit taller. Just like that. So I want to add in a plant. So I'll just put the cursor back in the center. And we're going to add in a plane. Scale that down, press slash, go to top mode. We scale it along the Y. We're going to edit mode. We're going to subdivide it. And we're just going to scale in these ones, scale in these ones. And we might even pull that one out just a little bit. Select all of them, extrude them up, just like this. I know it is awkwardly looking like a coffin, but now it is looking more like a leaf, so don't worry there. We're going to select use edge select and select those two, and we want to bevel just like that. And then we want to just bring down the bevel. I'm going to select all. I'm just going to scale it just like that. That's looking great. We're going to select the middle vertices, turn on proportional editing. We want it on smooth. If you can't see it, when you press G, it might be really big, so you just need to use a scroll wheel to scroll it up or scroll it down. Then we're going to move it up just along the Z-axis, and we want it to be just a little bit like that. I'm going to select these vertices as well, and I'm just going to bring that just like that. A, and we're going to move it back, turn off proportional editing. I'm going to use face select. I'm going to extrude, and then scale, and then extrude across. And then I'm just going to pull that down just a little bit and then just rotate it just like that. Then just add in another loop cut just there. So this is the leaf that we have. We're going to move it up to be centered. And then we are going to add the origin to the 3D cursor. And we'll just shade it smooth just while we're there. Now what we're going to do is apply everything. We're going to add in the array modifier, and I want to make maybe 7 of these, and then we're going to add in a curve, make it a circle. This is just like how we did the flower cushion. Apply all of the scales there. Go back to this one, go object offset, select the circle, and then we want to do say 360 divided by 7. So now they're all like that. You can even take it a step further and twist them around a little bit more, and then you can pull them up using the Z-axis, just like that. You see how that's looking more like a little bit of a palm. What I noticed though is some of the like stalks don't reach the bottom, so I'm going to tab back into edit mode. I'm just going to extrude them down just like that, so they all go to the same point. We're going to apply the array modifier, and then we're going to tab out of that mode. We can delete this little circle, and then we're just going to bring this palm in, and we're going to make it smaller because it's huge. Just like that. And I love how this is looking. We might just add in some dirt though, so we'll just do a round cube, put it up to 1, scale it down, then we want to just move it along. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and texturize everything. You can do this however you want, or you can follow what I'm doing if you'd like to and learn a few more techniques. So this is what we have to work with. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work with the floors first. I'm going to go over to the shading tab, and I'm just going to call this wood 1. Sometimes we do more than one wood, so wood 1 is always good to start. We want to do a noise texture, and we want to do a color ramp and the color to the factor, just like that. We're going to add in some brownie tones, and then I'm just going to scale the wood a little bit, give it a little bit of detail, and then just distort it. You can play with this however you want to add in the wood texture. I'm going to select the other bits of wood, and I'm going to add in that wood texture. So that instantly brightens up the room. We're going to use a similar, we're now going to do the brick. What we can do is use something very similar, or we can use a Voronoi texture. Pop that into a color ramp, just like that. And then I want it to maybe like a little bit purple. Change it to smooth F1 just there. Increase the scale, decrease it, just increase it. I might even do like that technique. We'll see what it looks like in the room. Yeah, so I think what we'll do is we'll just bring down the color of this one, and then we'll add the brick texture to the other side as well. So it's looking like that there. I'm going to add in a new wood texture, call this one wood 2, the decoration. So we want to add in a color ramp and then a noise texture. And then we're just going to make it a little bit of a darker wood. Something like that. Turn up that. Up the detail, just like that. There might even be like a little red, but we will sort it out. We want to add in the wood 2 texture to the top and the bottom as well. And what we might even do is add it around the outside as well, and we might even add it to the base. As you can see, it's changed this wall color, so we'll tab in, and we're actually going to go to the texture panel. I'm going to click the plus here, and we're going to do a new texture. So I'm going to do a color ramp, and I'm going to do a noise texture. Once again, color into the factor, color into the base color, and what I'm going to do is I want it to be quite light, like that. I'm just going to select all the faces that I want it to be on, and I'm just going to assign it just so that we can see what is happening with it. So I think this color maybe just isn't dark enough. Turn up the scale and then turn up the roughness of it. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with that tone. And then when we go in, we can just select these vertices here. Probably not that one, probably not that one. And then we can apply this material. Yeah, I quite like that. I want to add in the wood to this one as well. So we're just going to go in and add that there. Now for all the frames, I'm just going to add in the first wood that we did. And from this point, you've made a few different shaders. So you can go around and really do whatever you like with it. For the duvet, I'm just going to make a checkered effect. So you can just go to checker, plug that color into the base color. And you can see the checkers just appearing there. We might do this as like a green checker, just like that. And we might turn up the roughness. Now you can change the checker size. I might leave them as really big checkers just because we have a lot of like striped effects going on with the bricks and the panels down here as well. I'm going to click the little pillows, and I'm going to add in the same effect. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and color all of the assets, and I will see you after that. Alright, so this is how I've decorated my isometric room. I'd love to see how you decorate yours. Now I'm just going to show you how to set up the render. What we're going to do is we are just going to add in a plane. We're going to bring it down. We're going to make it a little bit bigger. We're going to rotate it just like this. Tab into edit mode. Select the back vertice and then extrude it up. Select this one, Control B to bevel, make a bunch of beveling, and then shade smooth. Next, we want to add in the camera. Press 0 on your numpad, come over to camera to view, and then just zoom out to however you want it to look. So I'm kind of happy with it there. Deselect it so you don't keep moving the camera around. And then I'm just going to add in, we probably want to add in an area light. And so we're just going to add it, and then we're just going to rotate it towards the room, just like that. I want to make it a eclipse, and then I'm thinking we'll make it about 100. I'm rendering currently in Eevee, just because it's easier to show you, and I'll switch it over to cycles in a second. But if you just select the button up here, you'll be able to see what it's all looking like with that lighting. I quite like that. I'm going to duplicate this one. I'm just going to bring it over here, and we're just going to rotate it just like that. And I'm probably just going to bring this one down to maybe 85. Then I'm going to add in a point light, bring it up, and I'm just going to put it in the back, just there. I'm gonna make it maybe 150, just like that, just so that it gives us that look that it's 3D. Sometimes it can look 2D. We might even do it at 200, just like that. I want to bring this one back. And then from this point, I just keep rendering it, keep looking at the image, and going from there. I'm quite actually happy with how this looks. What I'm going to do now is show you how to render it all in cycles. So we're going to go over here to the renders properties, and we're going to change it from Eevee to cycles, just there. We're going to go CPU compute, and I'm just going to turn it off the rendered mode because my computer won't render it fast enough and you'll start to feel sick. So max samples, I'm going to do about 600. You can do the full amount, but I usually do about 600 just to see what everything's looking like, and I want to denoise it as well. And then that's really it. What I'm going to do now is render it, and then I'll show you what it's looking like. So this is what my isometric room is looking like rendered. Wow! I'd love to see what you created too, and if you have any other requests for tutorials, please let me know. But thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and I will now see you in the next video.